This screencast is going to look at one way that you might consider working and using Google Drive and Docs with your students. So here you can see my Google Drive, and in it I've created a course folder. So name this folder the title of your course, so Access eTeaching BTEC, whichever the course is called. Now I'm not going to share this folder with the students because I want all my folders within this folder to have different permissions, but this top folder is to keep all my things together for me. So I'm going to click inside that folder and you'll see that I've got a set of other folders that I've set up. I've got assessment forms, resources, and then I've got my weekly resources that I've put together that will contain all my handouts. So the first thing I want to look at is the assessment forms. If I go up and click on assessment forms, what you'll see is that every individual student has their own assessment form, and I name them very clearly: eTeaching assessment form, and I put the name of the student in brackets, and you can see here that I've shared that with the student. Now what's important here, because I want this student to work on it, I want it to be shared and they can edit it. So it's first of all, it started as a Google Doc, which is a good way of starting. If I select it and go up to share, I can check the permissions the student's got. So you can see here Wendy, that's me, is the owner, and you can see my student Tony can edit this document. So that's set up correctly. Okay, so I'm back to that folder. Then I'd do the same for Joe Blogs and AN Other. I would share their individual assessment sheets. So what I don't want to do is share the original top folder, because that would mean everybody would have access to everything, and obviously this is a private document. So let's come out of that folder. Okay, and now I'm in the next folder here, which is resources, and you can see this looks different to the top one. This one has a head and shoulders on the folder, and it also says shared next to it. So that's telling us that this folder itself is shared, the whole folder. If I go into that folder, you'll see that I've got a document in there. And I think this is quite good practice. I've put a folder in there, sorry, not a folder, I've put a document in there which explains to my students what this document and folder is and how to work with these shared documents, because some students at the beginning won't understand that and they need some guidance. Okay, so read me first how to work with shared documents. Okay, let's go back to the top folder. Nothing else in that eTeaching resources folder yet, because what I don't want to do is give all the students all my resources as they start the course. What I want to do is feed the resources to them as they need them. So outside of that share folder, I've got all my individual resources set in folders by week. So as I deliver week 1, just before the lesson or just after or during the lesson, whichever is my preferred way of teaching, I can just click and drag that week 1 folder up into the eTeaching course, and what it will tell you up here is the item is added and now shared in the eTeaching course resources. So the folder I've just dropped in there is no longer private, it's now become a shared document. It's gone into the shared folder. And I would do that each week. So here's week 2 popping up as well. I think this is quite an easy way of working. It means that I don't have to share every individual document with students. I only set it up once at the beginning for the folders. It also means that the students receive things and see things in a structured way. They're not looking at lots of individual documents within their shared file, which are slightly more difficult to find. And at the end of the course, all I simply have to do, I can select and go up to shared, and if my students are then finished on the course, I can just click on the X here, which is just hanging off the screen, and those students no longer have any permissions. Or if I'm feeling generous, I can leave the permissions on after they finish the course. I hope that's given you one idea of how you might use Google Drive. Please share others. You'll have your own individual ways you've found. I'd be interested to see what you're doing.